Hello friends, in this video we are going to discuss how to deploy ASP.NET Web Application on a Docker container. Generally we deploy or host our applications on web servers or virtual servers, but nowadays we are deploying the applications on Docker containers because the Docker containers are downsized lightweight containers where which we can have only the required binaries or libraries to host or deploy application. Whereas coming to web servers, along with the required binaries or libraries, we have to maintain many things which actually are not required for the application to get hosted on the virtual servers. Whereas coming to the containers, they are just a simple, we can assume as a folders. If you see the diagram, they are simply like this is the ship containing these containers. So we can assume, we can maintain as many containers as we want very simply so that we can host n number of applications in n number of containers. Whereas maintaining these applications on servers is a bit difficult because we need to maintain, as we discussed, servers has to accommodate so many other things which actually don't require for deploying the application. So nowadays all the people are deploying their applications on containers. That is why. And the scaling is also very easy because as containers are lightweight, downsized, scaling or just launching the containers is very easy. We can simply launch as many containers as we want depending on the load of the application. Whereas coming to the servers, the scaling up of the servers is difficult because as we discussed, servers occupy more amount of space. They have their own memory, RAM, CPU, etc. So we deploy most of the applications and nowadays in containers. So this is about the containers. Now we quickly jump to the demo of our video. So in this video, we are going to deploy ASP.NET Web Application on a Docker container. So for this demo, I have already taken an ASP.NET Web Application which is built on .NET Framework 4.5. So if you go to this is the web application. This is a simple web application that which I have created with two simple pages. And if you go right click and go to the properties, here the .NET target framework is .NET Framework 4.5. So and this web application is built on VB.NET. So if you see the code, I have just written the simple code by just when the user clicks on the button, I am just redirecting the user to the welcome.aspx page by passing the username which the user has entered. So I'm simply building the application now. So first we will run this application. And one more thing, the very important, to deploy the application on a Docker container, we have to install the Docker. We can get that from the Google. You can just go to the Google and search for Docker. Uh, there you can install the Docker desktop. I'm sorry, Docker desktop. You can install depending on the machine. So if your machine is Mac or Linux or Windows, and depending on the if it is Windows 64-bit or uh, depending on the 32-bit or 64-bit, you can just download from the Google. Once you download the Docker container, it looks like this. So this is the Docker container where here on the left side we have containers, images, volumes, etc. And it looks like this once. And also to install this Docker desktop, it may take a bit of time, around 15 to 20 minutes. So have patience. And while installing, it's not difficult. Just clicking on next, that will get installed, right? And also the important point that I forgot to mention is, as we are deploying the .NET application which is built on .NET Framework 4.5, we have to run our we have to run our Docker desktop in the Windows container. So for that purpose, once you deploy this Docker desktop in your machine, on the window on the here in the toolbar, you can see here this is the Docker desktop running. So just right click on it and see the option switch to Linux containers. We should run this Docker desktop on the Windows containers only, because here we want to deploy the application which is built on old traditional framework .NET Framework 4.5. So the .NET Framework 4.5 is platform dependent. It can only run on Windows machines. Whereas coming to the new technology, the .NET Core, so it is a platform independent. We can run it in any way, any server, like in any OS. So it is not dependent on OS. Whereas coming to the .NET framework, old framework applications, they are platform dependent. So that is why we have to select here switch to Windows containers. But in my Docker desktop, as I have already switched to Windows containers, so it is showing me this option switch to Linux containers, so which is nothing but this is already running on the Windows containers. So please remember this point once you install the Docker desktop. And remember, we have to switch to Windows containers only when we want to host or deploy the applications which are built on .NET framework, old framework. Okay, for not for .NET new, not .NET Core. So please remember this option. As I have already switched to Windows containers, it is showing me this option, switch to Linux containers. But once you install this Docker desktop, at the very first, you will see this option because by default it runs on Linux containers. So you have to go here and switch to Windows containers. As I have already switched to Windows containers, my Docker desktop is running on the Windows containers. So please remember, this is the important point. This is the simple web application. Now we will run without any containers. So I'm just clicking on Control F5 button, which is nothing but it is build. It will build and run our web application. So I am running this application now on my local host in an IIS Express server. So this is a simple label that I kept. Welcome to ASP.NET traditional web application built in .NET Framework 4.5 using Visual Basic. So I have uh, the, run the I have taken this Visual Basic as the language. So I'm just entering some test username and password. Just clicking on the button. I'm just redirecting it to welcome.aspx page. Now our goal is to deploy this application in a Docker container. So for that purpose, let me close it. We have to add the Docker file. We can add the Docker file in two ways. As Windows, as the Visual Studio has a support to add the Docker file. So we can just right click here and go to add, and here you can see this option Docker support. See, remember, when you select this option Docker support, the Docker file will be added automatically, and immediately after adding the file, it will build the image and run the image. So all the steps will be taken without any your intervention. So they will be executed automatically. So be careful when you select this option. So immediately the Docker file will get added, and all the commands in the Docker file which are required to host this application will be added automatically by Visual Studio in the Docker file, and the build, execution, everything will done automatically. So you don't need to have to do anything. But I don't like this option. I want to do everything on my own in the command prompt. So that is why I don't want to choose this option. So once you choose this option, be careful. It will be done automatically. It may take a bit of time. Don't get panic. So because in the background it is getting executed, it is getting building, it is getting running the container, creating the image, everything will happen. So it may get a time. It may take a bit of time, not bit more time. So that is why I don't want to add this manually. And also after you add this, here you will have the option, you can, it will be automatically shifted to Docker, and it will be the application will be run on the Docker container, and you can see that by browsing that, right? So but I don't want to do in such a way. That is the first option, to add the Docker file, And the second option is we can add manually. So I like that option very much because we can do everything manually, so we can learn. So let me go to the open folder in file explorer, go to the place where our .solution file exists, .sln file exists, and here you can add a Docker file. So adding the Docker file manually is a here we need to follow some principles nothing but we need to add a new text document. To add a Docker file, just we need to add a new text document, and the naming convention is very important. Here you should not do any spelling mistake. Just see Docker Docker file. The same spelling you have to give, and the important thing is you have to remove this extension .txt. Please remove it. Then it will be considered as a Docker file. So it will ask if you change a file name extension, the file might becomes unusable. Okay, no problem. Yes, I want to change it. Please click on yes. Now this is the Docker file. Now once you add the Docker file, just go to the Solution Explorer. It may not be visible here. After we add immediately, it may not be visible. To make it visible here, we need to just click this option, show all files. Then it will be visible here, the Docker file. Then what you can do is just right click it, and here you can just select this option, include in project. Now this will be included in the project. Then you can again click this option to hide other files. Now this file will be visible. Just click on it. Now the code here which we are going to write this is bit important, excuse me, that I have already kept in my notepad file. Let me open my notepad file. Where do I kept it? Let me go here. Let me go to my desktop. Here this is the code that we will copy and paste it there. This is the code. If you observe, I will just explain. So let us go to the Visual Studio and paste that here and click on save. So what here we are doing is we are just downloading this Windows core server with ASP.NET framework, this framework, and this is the Windows Server core, and along with that we are creating a working directory initpub www root. This is the directory which will be created in the Docker container, and we are copying the source from where, from the bin app.publish folder. We are copying it to the dot means this working directory it will get copied. So for that, just go to the Solution Explorer. Before, so as we are saying that to copy from bin app.publish, so we need to publish it to the app.publish folder. So for that purpose, right click and click on publish. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So here, if you don't find here, let me delete it so that we'll do from the first beginning. How can I delete more actions? Delete. So to publish to that, just click on add publish profile and click on select folder here. Click on next. Here you can see bin app.publish. So you can just leave that and click on finish. Now it will be shown here and click on publish. Excuse me. Now it has been published. So all the required DLLs got published to app.publish folder. Let me click on this so that it will open and show here. So actually these are the files we require to run our application. So what we are saying is from this app.publish only copy these files. We don't require everything. So if you see, all these files we don't require in the Docker. In the Docker, we just want to run our application. To run our application, only we want the files in the publish folder, these files. These 5 files we required. So that is why in the Docker file, if you observe, we are saying source from bin app.publish copy to dot. Dot is nothing but here the working directory inetweb www root copy to this folder. So this is the just simple code in the Docker file. Once we have completed this Docker file, we can just click on save, and now we have to go to the command prompt. We need to build our image. So let me open the command prompt. So go here, cmd. Let me run as administrator. So from the command prompt, we will go to the PowerShell. So to go to the PowerShell, just type on PowerShell. So here we now we are in the running on the PowerShell. Let me clear the screen. So I have already the commands ready with me. So first of all, we need to build our simple web application. The command to build our simple web application is docker build -t simple app web application dot. So let me copy this and paste it over here and click on enter. Okay, I'm sorry. So before we need to run this command from where our Docker file exists. Our Docker file does not exist in C Windows System 32. Where does our Docker file exist? Our Docker file exists here. Here our Docker file exists. So let me copy this, and first we will go to that location. How do we go to that location? CD space, we need to enter that. Okay, now we are at this location. So here we have a Docker file. So if I click on dir, you can see our Docker file. So from here, we need to execute that Docker build command. Let me clear the screen. Now let me paste that, not this one. If you click on up arrow, you can go to the previous commands. So yeah, this is the previous command. Now Docker build -t simple web application dot. Click on enter, and this will get build, and we will see the images. So sending build. Remember one point. Uh, if you are doing for the first time, see this Microsoft .NET framework ASP.NET. So this is a huge in size. So it will take so much of time that around, I remember, some 30 to 35, 30 to 40 minutes it may take. Maybe around 20 to 40 or 20 to 30 or 30 to 40, I don't remember, but it may take more amount, sorry, it may take huge time. So be patient. Now see, this is a simple web application. This is also 7.64 GB, but this will refer this image. As this image is already downloaded and we have it here, so now it won't take that much of time. So now it has completed. Once it is completed, it will show this ID like this, and this is the latest, tagged as latest. Now the second command to run is, just go to commands here. This is the command we want to run here, docker run. This is the port number of our local machine, and this is the port number in the docker container, and this is our name of the application. And here we have to give, this is the name of the image. So this image, if you see, let me go to the docker. See, simple web application, we had to give this image name, simple web application, and my ASP.NET Web App. This is the name I have given. Now we need to run this. Just copy this command and go to the command prompt, paste it here, click on enter. So it is okay. I'm sorry, extremely sorry. The image name reverse. So this is the application name that we want to give, name of the application, and this is the image name. Image name is simple web application and the tag is latest. So colon our tag latest. See, you can see the Docker images here also. Unable to find. Okay. Okay. CLS Docker images. See, we have two images, simple web application and this one. So we have to use this image, simple web application, and the tag is latest. So here, if you see, this is the name of the application we want to give, and this is the name of the image, simple web application with the tag. Now copy this command and run. Go to the command prompt, right, paste it over here, click on enter. See, error, failed to create endpoint on network, failed during HNS call, raw response, element not found. I'm not sure. Let us go to the Docker and click on containers. It is saying failed, but it is showing as created. I'm not sure. Let us delete and try this again. See, this is the name we have given, right? My ASP.NET Web App. Let us delete it and try to create by changing the name. Instead of my .NET Web App, we will give demo app. Okay. Let me copy this and clear the screen. Paste it over here. Click on enter. Failed to create endpoint. Okay. But here it is showing, right? Let us run it. If no, it will not run. I'm not sure. Let me delete this -d and try again. What does this -d actually do? Docker run -help. No, sorry. Docker run -help. Enter. Okay. -d. Detach. Run container in background and print container ID. Okay, it is showing to run in detach mode. Okay, let me try to remove that D and try again. Okay, now let me copy this. Go to my command prompt. I'll clear the screen first. So now I have removed that -d and I'm trying to run. So before running that, let me delete that existing one here. Okay, now I'm clicking on enter. Hmm. What is this here? I'm not sure. But here if I try to start invoking remote method. Error response from daemon. Failed to create endpoint. Sorry friends, I have paused the video and searched for the solution for the error that we got previously. So the solution is nothing but here in the Stack Overflow I got the same issue, like we got this error, the process. See, if you see here, this is the error, failed during HNS call raw response. So I searched for that in the Stack Overflow. I got the solution. The solution is nothing but here they have given some commands here. They said that this has fixed the issue a couple of times for me. So in the administrative PowerShell console, I run the following commands. So I just went ahead, and if you see my command prompt window, command prompt. So I have run these commands as mentioned in the Stack Overflow site. So after running this all these commands, I just run my run command with -d. So this time I have kept this -d and this image. Once I run this image, we will get this GUID returned. And once this GUID get returned in the Docker, we will see this application. So we can just click on it and we can browse our application. So here we have to browse login page.aspx. This is the login page.aspx. Let me click on this. Now this is being run from the Docker, not from our local machine, our local local IAS server or Express Edition. See, now we are able to run our application. Now I'm giving welcome Murthy. Okay, so in this way we can host our application and we can run it. And also tried in one of the Stack Overflow, they said that just right click on the Docker and just restart it. I have tried that option as well, but that didn't work for me. So for me, this command really this helped me a lot, and this has fixed my issue. Now after running all those commands as I mentioned, you can see here my screen, and I have run this Docker run. Now this has run successfully without any issues, and we are able to browse our application. And also here in the we can see we can just a second, it is our Docker here. So this is our file here. If you click on here and if you go open in terminal, so this is the terminal. There see inet pub www root. Here if you see dir, we can see all our deployment files, login page, web.config, this is welcome page, and bin. So if you go to bin dir bin, we can see cd bin, we can see the DLLs DAR. So this is the DLL or simple web application.dll. This is the so in this way in the Docker terminal we can check what are the files in the container, and we can just traverse through these locations, cINET www root. So we have copied we asked to copy it here, right? So here we can see all our files. So guys, in this way we can host our web application and we can run it in a Docker container like this as explained in this video. So in the next video, what we are going to do is we will copy this image. So in this image, actually we have two images, but this will be merged into this image, and we can just simply copy this simple web application image to our AWS registry. We have a service called Amazon ECR, Elastic Container Registry. So we'll copy this image to our ECR, and from there through our service called ECS, Amazon Elastic Container Service, we will using this image, we will deploy the same web application in AWS using the service called Amazon ECS, Elastic Container Service, by copying this image to ECR, Elastic Container Registry. So thank you so much friends for listening my video patiently, and I'm extremely sorry for the issue that we have faced in the video, but anyhow it got fixed. Thank you so much friends. Thank you.